Welcome to Picks and Parlays, live on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network and also streaming live throughout the day on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I am your host, Nick Geber. Find me on Twitter at Nick Geber. We have a huge show for you this Thursday, December 19th. I'd like to wish everyone a very happy National Re-Gifting Day. We'll get to that a little bit later. Re-gifting, by the way, great thing to do. We've got a big show today. Coming up next, Craig Trapp, El Guapo, will join me. Let's talk about some college bowls and some college basketball. And I'm going to ask, if you're not good enough to make the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, what bowl do you end up with? That's a question mark. I'll answer it after the break. Joe Duffy will be joining me for some NBA. And we're going to talk, I've got 4 games to go through. You have to wait and see which ones they are. And finally, Chicken Dinner himself, Chip Chirimbes, will join me. We're going to talk some NFL football. We're going to be covering the Monday Night Football game. We're going to be covering the Monday football game. We've got 3 others to cover. Some good stuff. Chicken Dinner's here. We're going to cover it all for you. Be sure to have a pen and or paper handy. And or I suppose a paper without the pen wouldn't be much use unless you're going to slit your wrists and write it in blood, and I don't recommend that. Look, picksandparlays.net. We've got a lot of free picks on the site for you. You want to take advantage of that. But we also have expert picks, extra analysis, extra thoughtful picks from our 35 expert resident handicappers. You can purchase their picks, and right now, just for you, we have a very special offer because it's the bowl season. There are 2 offers we have for you, actually. Not 1, but 2. Are you ready for this? First is we have a handicapper special. That's right. For $1.99, you get all the handicappers' picks. All the handicappers you choose, that could be one of them, you get all of their picks for the bowl season. But if you, for $2.99, an extra $100, you get to double the cappers. Make it 2. The other offer we have for you is 15% off across the board. Load up the basket with whatever you want and use code BOWL. For 15% off. Make it easy. All right, I'll step aside, take a break, gather my thoughts. Only allowed to have one of them a day. When we come back, I'll be joined by El Guapo himself, Craig Trapp. Let's talk a little bowl specials. All right, welcome back to the show, Picks and Parlays. I'm your host, Nick Geber, and by the way, my Christmas has arrived early. As you see, I'm using it. By the way, you can only see it if you're watching us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Obviously, you have to visualize this if you're listening to us on the radio, on the Sports Byline Network. I'm using my patented Picks and Parlays studio mug to enjoy my alcoholic beverage as we try to get ready and give you a great show today. It's whatever it is. It's a... Ooh, I think that's flammable. All right, let's welcome to the show the boss man himself, resident capping expert, Craig El Guapo Trapp. Craig, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Last day in Vegas of 2019. I'll be back in a few weeks, but going to make it a nice winning one with a couple college basketball and one of your favorite bowls, of course, as well.
All right, Craig, let's get to it, right? If you're not good enough to make the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, what bowl do you end up in?
Well, since we're talking Frisco Bowl, I'm guessing it's going to be the Frisco Bowl.
Well, and if you're not good enough in the Frisco Bowl, what bowl do you end up in?
Toilet Bowl.
It's like the Crisco Bowl. I don't know.
Yeah.
Same thing. Anyway, Look, let's talk Frisco Bowl bowling. I have to be honest with you here before we get going on this. You know, I am not from this country. The bowl series, the bowl season always struck me as being a little strange. I can understand it, you know, you want teams that perform well to have an extra game in the postseason to play for. But some of these teams are just bloody awful. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yet they still make the bowl. Kent State, who are playing in this bowl, 6-6, Craig. I mean, that's hardly tearing it up, right? 8-4 against the spread. It's only their second bowl since 1972. They've had more students shot on the Kent State's campus than bowls they have made since 1972. And that is a pretty bad track record.
That's a bad stat. That's a bad stat. That's a bad stat.
You're going to cut that one, aren't you?
Yes,
don't do that. No, please don't do that. Leave it in there. No, look. Let's talk Frisco Bowl. Utah State, 7-5, 7-5 against the spread. Disappointing season for the Aggies. They were hoping for a Mountain West Conference championship, but they lost to Boise. They lost to Air Force. They sucked. They land in the Frisco Bowl. Sorry, folks, no Potato Bowl for you. They're 16-1, straight up 13-4 when a favorite. Look, it's all that quarterback, Jordan Love. He is a fantastic quarterback. Going to enter the NFL draft if he doesn't stop by the dispensary first. There's a few problems going on right now. Not sure if he's playing or not, Craig. We're going to talk about this. As for Kent State, are they just happy to be there? I don't know. They won their last 3 games. That punched their ticket. The total's gone over in 4 of the last 6 games. Utah are -6 favorites. Unless you stop by the dispensary, then it's now just a -1 favorite. Total 67.5. What say you?
It sounds like Love might be suspended. At least maybe he doesn't get to start and maybe out a few quarters. Or might be suspended for the whole game. Maybe even just sets out, because we've seen these really high quarterbacks or running backs take the bowl games off. So I would not doubt if Utah State was without Love for at least a part of this game, if not the whole game. Reason why I think Kent State's the play here, and I even see this at 6.5 at some spots. I think Kent State, they were good against the spread, 8-4 against the spread this year. Utah State, they weren't great against the best teams. I think their best win probably was Wyoming on the season. I mean, Boise absolutely housed them. I mean, to me, they just beat a bunch of bad teams pretty much to get a little better record than we saw than Kent State. But I think Kent State, not like the MAC's, they're obviously the MAC's not any better than the Mountain West. But I'll take Kent State here getting the 6.5 points. I just think in bowls, unders and underdogs is what you have to look at first. And I don't think this is an under game. I think there could be a lot of points in this one. So I think you have to play the underdog, which leads me to Kent State plus 6.5 here.
All right, Kent State plus 6.5. Like it. That's good. Now, we said we were going to do some college basketball. Let's do it. Let's start with the Wolfpack, NC State against Auburn. NC State 8-2, 6-4 against the spread on a 3-game win streak. In fact, they're 8-2 in the last 10. 2-0 straight up and against the spread away from home. The total has gone over in 5 of the last 7, and Auburn Tigers are perfect, Craig. 9-0, 5-4 against the spread. Obviously unbeaten on the season. Last outing was a 61 victory over St. Louis. 4-0 straight up, 2-2 against the spread at home. They've gone over in all 6 games. Total 151.5. Auburn, big favorites, 8 points.
Expect a high-scoring game here. I do think this one will be up and down. Auburn had an unbelievable season last year. A lot of pieces they had to replace off of that Final Four team. Very good coach Bruce Pearl obviously has done great things here, but I think this is way too many points. NC State is a very good team. They're 2-0 against the spread on the road. Been pretty good, but they did come off a loss. I don't think they're 2-0 against the spread actually on the road. Maybe they're 2-1 because they did lose to Penn State last time out. And they lost. Their big loss was to Memphis. I thought Memphis is a very good team, though, so it's not that bad. Auburn really hasn't played anybody. That's my thing here. They barely beat St. Louis, barely beat Furman, didn't cover in any of those. I think Auburn might win this game in a high-scoring track meet type game. I think you got to take NC State getting all these points, so we're going to take NC State plus 8 here.
Yeah, and they do have momentum also being on a 3-game winning streak. And you'd have to think at some point, you're right, Auburn 9-0. They played 9 not-so-great teams. They're going to meet a good team in the Wolfpack, and it could stop there. I'm with you.
I misspoke. I said they lost to Penn State. That's the game we're doing next. That was Maryland. But they're 2-0 against the spread. That's why they're 2-0 against the spread.
Did you take your ginkgo biloba today?
Boom.
Let's do the next one. Maryland, Seton Hall, the Terrapins, 10-1, 5-6 against the spread. Look, they just blew 8. This is kind of what we were talking about, actually, because they just kind of blew that 10-game winning streak with that loss to Penn State.
Was a little early on that.
Yeah, it's all right. 3. Still, they lost the 10. They blew the 10-game win streak. So, it actually was a. Yes, it was. It was. They're on that 9-game win streak. Okay, Maryland. They're 3-0 straight up, 1-2 against the spread at neutral sites, 2-4 against the spread in the last 6 games. Seton Hall Pirates, and I'm going to do this one in my pirate voice for you. Arr! They lost the last 2 in a row, my laddie. Most recently, a 48-68 loss to Rutgers. Arr! Can you say R?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, all right. Miles Powell's a doubt for this come back from a concussion. You tell me he's definitely out. I think he's a maybe, but I don't think he can remember because he's concussed, so don't ask him, all right?
He's out. Otherwise, this line would be Maryland's favored by 5.
Yeah.
If he was playing, I'm pretty sure this would probably be a pick'em game. You know, he's an All-American, best player on their team, probably a top 15 draft pick.
But he doesn't even remember that right now.
Right now, he's questionable. He's questionable according to Nick, but he's not playing.
He can't spell his name at this point.
He's out indefinitely.
But they're going to play him anyway because, you know, they graduate kids that can't spell their name, so that's normal.
Well, Seton Hall, they're better than they're not a one-man team. I think a lot of people will maybe get confused because if you look at the stats from Miles Powell, I mean, he is a great player. But I like Seton Hall here. I just think getting 5 points, I mean, Maryland's coming off a loss to Penn State. Penn State's not a world beater either. So I think Seton Hall will come to play. This is a big matchup, you know, in the Northeast here. These two are recruiting the same type of players, the same players from the same region.
Right,
so
right.
This is a bigger game, even though they're not obviously from the same conference. But I think Seton Hall has a shot at an outright upset here, but I think easily covers this 5 points. And like I said, for some reason Miles Powell will play.
So in other words, Craig, you like the Pirates, laddie.
Yeah, I like him a little more with the pirate voice.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, Andrew, how much longer do we have? Okay, we got a minute left, so it's not time to do another game. We'll just hold it right there. We're going to keep our listeners and viewers on edge. If you've missed anything, if we haven't covered a game you want, go to picksandparlays.net. You'll see us rare. Lots of free picks, loads of expert picks. And again, every Monday through Friday right here on the Sports Byline.
Oh, we got the new, Allie and I did that bowl betting tips. So if you go over to YouTube and search the how-to betting videos, we got a new bowl betting tips for you guys. If you're not able to listen every day and get all of the bowls, because we'll probably cover them all, you can check out, you know, what you need to look for when it comes to bowl season.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have those specials right now. 15% off. Use promo code BOWL for everything in your bowl. I put it that way. It's a good one. And we do have our capper special for the bowl season. You can choose any capper, and you're going to get all their picks for the bowl games for just $1.99. And if you want to pick 2 cappers, we'll make it just $2.99 for you for both. That's a heck of a deal. All right, my laddies, we're done. We're going to leave right now. Joe Duffy, Duffman, will be up next. Craig, thanks a lot. We'll be right back after this. All right, thanks for staying with us here on Picks and Parlays. I'm Nick Geber. Find me Twitter at Nick Geber. Twitter me, twatter me, give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to talk to us during the show, you can do that. Go to the comment section on any one of our social media pages, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Fill them out. Our production team here will see them, put them up on the screen, and I will do my best to respond to them. And we do encourage you to be as rude as humanly possible. Okay, now we're ready to go. Let's bring in our next resident expert, the Duff Man. The Duff Man cometh, Joe Duffy.
How are you, jolly old Saint Nick? You know, my cousin Sean Duffy was listening to the first segment, and he was Snapchatting me, wondering why you didn't mention it's National Emo Day and National Hard Candy Day.
I did see that it was National Hard Candy Day, but I don't like hard candy. I much prefer re-gifting. and it is National Regifting Day today, which I thought was more appropriate, quite frankly, because you know what we're doing, Duffy? We are regifting picks that we have created to our viewers and listeners so that they can make money off them. And I promise to keep the dead student jokes to an absolute minimum this segment. Okay?
Yes.
All right.
Well, it's the good thing about National Hard Candy Day is my picks aren't going to suck. So that's the relevance.
You know, I actually offended the sensibilities of Chip Chirimbes. I can't believe that. Okay. All right, let's go. What are we talking? Oh, we're going to do NBA. Let's do NBA, shall we? And I want to start actually with the game where there is no line, and I want to talk about it briefly. No line between Lakers and Bucks, and the reason for that is no one knows if Anthony Davis or Zuma is going to play in this game, and as a result, I think there's no line as of right now. Maybe that's changed, but the Lakers coming off their loss to the Pacers, as are the Bucks. They're both 24-4. Lakers are 16-12 against the spread. Bucks 15-13. Help me out with this one, Duffy, because it's probably a game to avoid, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, well, I can bring a little bit of clarity to those injuries. Anthony Davis missed Tuesday, but it looks like he should play. I would go so far as to call him probable. Of course, he's one of the best players in the league, averaging 27 points per game, 9.3 rebounds. Kyle Kuzma, though, is going to be out for the Lake Show, and he's a very good role player. And again, as I say, it's guys like Kuzma, their injuries, their absence, or their return more likely to sneak under the radar than Anthony Davis, and that's one of the keys. Of course, Anthony Davis is a much better player and much more important, but his absence or his return to the lineup isn't one that's going to really sneak under the radar. So I think, Kuzma's injury from a betting standpoint is probably a little bit more relevant.
And you're saying that he is probably not going to be playing?
Yeah, I think Davis will play. Kuzma will not.
Interesting. Yeah, I found this to be a fascinating matchup because both teams are sort of coming off what I think you'd have to say were surprise, unlikely losses, although, les bon temps can't roulette all the time. At some point, they have to stop.
Yeah, and of course, the Lakers were obviously very shorthanded. This is very interesting. There is some handicapping relevance, but this is only the second time in NBA histories that beyond December the 19th, where you're going to have two teams with 4 or fewer losses, and now two teams with a winning percentage of .850 or above, not necessarily this late in the season, but overall does go under at a 74-59 rate. And what that tells you is that there's probably going to be a lot more intensity than there normally would in a regular season game. I always say intensity shows up on defense before it does offense. But, King LeBron, he was kind of downplaying. He's like, look, I played in 293 games. This is just another regular season game for me. And that makes perfect sense. I think if you're looking about motivation, it's much more of a statement game, I think, for the Bucks.
I agree. Still going to be a fabulous game. I'm going to watch it. Rest assured. This is a better and a fans game, I believe. You get both on this one. Jazz at Hawks. Utah 16-11, 11-16 against the spread and a 3-game winner. Most recently 109-102 win over the Magic. They're 5-8 straight up, 5-8 against the spread away from home. Mike Conley still out with the hamstring. Total's gone over in 5 of the last 6, and the Hawks 6-22, 12-16. They've lost the last 5 in a row. In fact, they're 2-8. Losing 120-143 to the Nets the last time out. John Collins is suspended still. He's serving his 25-game suspension, apparently for sharing his Netflix password, which I think is the NBA coming down a little hard, but, they're 3-10 straight up, 7-6 against the spread at home. They've gone over the total in 15 of the last 20. Utah favorites here, 6 points, 222.5 total.
Yeah, if Collins had shared his picks and parlay password, I'm pretty sure they'd have him out for the entire year. And, that's obviously relevant. Of course, he's been out for a while, but he's really their number 2 weapon behind Trae Young. When he does come back, he'll give him a little bit of a lift. I know there's already some talk that Lloyd Pierce might be on the hot seat. I think they're going to wait till John Collins does come back, and hopefully the Hawks can be a lot more competitive. The NBA is the one and only sport where I do consistently bet on road favorites. That's because my computer tells me to do that. But the exception is when the road team is much hotter than the home team. Of course, what's the public going to think? Fairly small line. Of course, I'm going to bet on the hotter team. And as always, odds makers one step ahead of you. So teams that have dropped at least 16 out of 18 and getting 6 or more, a pretty decent 411, 363, and 17. Now, that's not one of my best systems, but what it is, it warns you, don't do that knee-jerk thing. Fairly small line, much hotter team. So it's really basically the odds makers giving Atlanta a couple extra points because they know the public's tendency is going to be to do a team to bet on the Utah Jazz. And yeah, like you said, Utah is shorthanded themselves. Mike Connolly, who a lot of people think the Hawks should have drafted many years ago, 13.6 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 4.2 assists. All in all, I'm going to go, you got to win. What do I say often? You got to win ugly. The Hawks, I think, are good value here because anytime you got a blistering hot team against a blistering cold team, counterintuitive, usually the blistering cold team is good value.
All right, good value. Speaking of good value, you can get it on our website, picksandparlays.net right now. Special going on, 15% off. Use promo code BOWL. Let's get back to the NBA with the Duff man himself, Joe Duffy. His brother Sean Duffy apparently feeding in his ear all of these statistics. They're a team, you know. Joe is the front man. Sean Duffy is really the maestro behind the curtain. Isn't that right, Duff man?
There is no question whatsoever. He's got that strong Irish accent. They figured an Irish accent and a British accent. You can't have that on the same show. That's why they decided to have me on instead.
And you can get the two cappers, both Sean and Joe, for just $1.99, which is a great deal right now. Okay, Houston Clippers. Houston 18-9, 12-15 against the spread, coming off a 109-107 loss. Win over the Spurs. They're 8-5 straight up, 6-7 against the spread away from home. Hilario, Green, Gordon, all out indefinitely. Total has gone under in 5 of the last 7 for Houston. For the Rockets, the Clippers 21-8, 17-12 against the spread. They're 5-1 the last 6. The last outing was that win over the Suns. They're 14-1 straight up, 11-4 against the spread at Staples Center. JaMychal Green is doubtful. They're 10-0 straight up, the last 10 at home. And I don't know. I mean, when I have Triple B on here and we talk basketball, he says, but I always say when they're 10-0 at home, if it ain't broke, you know, don't fix it. Clippers -5, favorites, total 231. How do you like this one?
Yeah, I actually think JaMychal Green is going to be out for the Clippers. He's a pretty solid player, but I do not think he's going to play at all. At least the early going, and again, I've said I don't really weigh contrarian as much as I did in the past, but I do very much agree with Brent's network, where they always warn you about being careful of the chic underdog. The public, at least early is betting on Houston, and if it's that, sometime in mid-afternoon and whatever and closer to game time, that might be a little bit of a sign that the Clippers are a decent bet. The Clippers, as you said, much better at home than on the road, but no real edge spread rise. In fact, if anything, I was expecting it to, when you have a big dichotomy like that, usually it levels off. If anything, I thought the computer was going to tell me that the Clippers would be a good bet now on the road and not so much at home, but ran a couple numbers specific to the Clippers and really no real edge betting for or against them. But yeah, with some injuries here, it's a little bit tough to say. And since the computer didn't actually talk me out of downtown Browns theory, don't mess with it. Since the Clippers have been so much better at home, I do lean towards the Clippers laying the 5.
All right. You're going to concur with the Triple B. Good for you. Okay, Nets at Spurs. The Nets 15-12, 15-12 against the spread in a 2-game win streak. Coming off that win over the Pelicans, they're 7-7 straight up, 7-7 against the spread. Both of those away from home. Obviously, injuries are a major issue with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving both out. The total has gone under in 5 of the last 6. And for the Spurs, they're 10-16. Couldn't have happened to a nicer franchise. Last outing was a loss to the Rockets. They're 7-7 straight up, 4-7-1 against the spread at home. 8-2 straight up the last 10 versus the Nets. Total has gone over in 4 of the last 6. The Spurs, though, home favorites, 2.5 points. Total 218.5. Why are they home favorites? They've got a bad record and they're not very good.
Yeah, and in fact, it's interesting that you should mention that, Nick, because like I said, that is a general rule of thumb. When you look at the straight-up records, if nothing else, and then you make a line, and the line doesn't make sense, you actually go with what the odds makers are telling you and going with the counterintuitive line. But when I put in some numbers here, it didn't actually say that it applies to this game, and frankly, none of the save ones apply. But yeah, that does. Under most circumstances, you would kind of lean towards San Antonio. The Nets' Nwaba is probable with a sprained right ankle. He's playing very well as of late. 8.9 points per game, 2.6 rebounds in 16.6 minutes. And Jared Allen, in particular, on fire for the Nets over the last 17 games, 14.5 points per game, 68.8% shooting, and he's grabbing 11.7 boards. Also now second in the NBA in field goal percentage. So he's a player that does seem to be getting better and better and better. And the Nets are playing fairly well. 11-5 record straight up going back to November the 15th. But they're second in the NBA in field goal percentage and effective field goal percentage, which is based, points per possession, et cetera. So they're in a very nice groove. And I think in part because it looks like Jared Allen's legitimately a player that keeps getting better and better. So I think really because of a rising star, they're a little bit undervalued. And I will go
quickly. We got to go.
Okay. Nets.
We'll be right back. All right, we're back on Picks and Parlays. I want to thank Joe Duffy for the last segment and apologize for cutting him off so abruptly, but we were running up against a break. That break is now over. And now we're back. But the Duff Man is gone. But never fear. Chip Chicken Dinner Chirimbes has joined me in the studio. And we're going to talk some NFL football. Chipper, good to have you.
It's great to be here, as usual.
Yeah, it is good to have you because we're going to talk NFL football. We got 4 interesting games, including the Monday Night Football Packers at Vikings matchup.
Right.
We're going to talk about that one. But do you want to start with the Chiefs?
Well, let's start with the Packers game, that Monday night
you want to
game.
start with the Monday night game?
I'll tell you why in a minute. But really interesting.
Because
two of the
Craig
better
asked
teams.
us to?
Well, beg your pardon?
Because Craig asked us to?
Yes, because Craig wanted us to do it that way,
that's a good
in that
enough
order.
reason.
So that's why we're doing it. But here we have Minnesota at home, 5.5, 6-point favorite over the Packers, which I think is a pretty strong number, Nick. I mean, Green Bay is 11-3, though they only covered 1 of the last 5 times they've been at Minnesota, and they're only 3-7 as a road underdog overall. But Minnesota has put on some great numbers, Nick, when playing at home, going 36-15 in the last 51 games. But in their last 17 games overall, Nick, against teams with winning percentage, they've only covered 4 of those 17 games. So the tougher the competition, it looks like the Vikings come back toward the number. The home team in the series is 6-1, but now we got some juicy stuff. They're 8-2 to the under in their last 10 meetings, 5-0 to the under when they play in Minnesota, and Green Bay is 7-0 to the under within the division. So I think also Green Bay plays to the under against better competition, against winning teams. They've gone 8-3 to the under. I think the under is the way to go here. Minnesota needs a game desperately, but Green Bay is always there.
Hold on. Okay.
Go ahead.
Hold your horses there,
Sure.
Chambers, because actually the Packers, they need this game because their perfect NFC North record is on the line here.
Well, I don't know. They're in first place.
But no, they want that perfect record. That is important to them. Sure, the Vikings need it. The Vikings, what's interesting is you've got 2 teams, both are on a bit of a hot streak right now. Okay,
excellent clubs.
The Vikings 6-0 straight up at home. I mean, they're doing great work at home, and they're 4-2 against the spread at home as well. And the total has gone over though in 5 of the last 6 for the Vikings. This is one of these things where you kind of got contrarian statistics here.
This always happens, Nick.
But when I look at this game, I really think ultimately, at the end of the day, this game's going to come down to two teams with great records, 11-3 for the Packers, 10-4 for the Vikings. Who wants this game more, Chip? I think these are well evenly matched. This should be a great game to watch in terms of from a betting perspective. The Vikings are the home favorites, 5.5-point home favorites, and the total 46. And you're saying go the under?
I'm saying play under because...
But, you know, I like under because I think when you've got two evenly matched teams with a lot on the line, they're going to risk a lot less. And hold on.
This is what's happening here.
Oh, there we go. Lane Eternal Master, by the way. Snappy duds, Chipper. I agree, by the way.
Well, it's holiday time. You know, it's holiday time. We're dressing up. Thank you. But, you know, in the latter part of the year, when the better teams are playing against each other, there aren't too many runaway high-scoring games. I mean, we've seen it. It isn't like it doesn't happen.
Well, because there's a lot on the line, right? I mean,
yes.
you know, at the end of the day, there's a lot on the line, so that they're less inclined to take chances.
Exactly.
They're going to play tighter defense.
A little more conservative.
A little bit more conservative.
Yeah, not look to give the ball up or give up an easy score.
I don't care what sport it is. They're all the same way.
Is that why we always play under in the World Cup games?
Yeah,
because
for sure.
It's nil-nil, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right, absolutely. But the group stage games might open up.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it just depends. Yeah, I agree with it. Good pick. I like the under on this one, too. 46 points. And the Vikings 5.5-point favorites. Should be a good one to watch, too. And it is Monday Night Football, so it's on the big stage.
That's right. This, you know, and it's going to be a great stage. Here you have a little quarterback controversy with Rodgers not having as good a season as he has in the past, and the Vikings quarterback not even being selected to the Pro Bowl, and everybody gets to go to the Pro Bowl. So there's going to be some storyline here by Monday night. I'm sure they'll build it up.
I tell you what, why don't we go from two teams with great records that are playing great football right now to two teams not so much. Let's talk Bengals at Dolphins. The Bengals are still looking for that first elusive home win. We're coming down to the very last days of the season, and they're 0-7. They're 4-7 against the spread away. They haven't scored more. Chipper, I was looking at this. This wasn't a stat I read, okay? I'm sure it's out there, but I didn't see it. They haven't scored more than 22 points in a game since the beginning of October, and then it was 23. So, you know, they're just an awful team here, the Bengals. The Dolphins, they've lost 2 in a row. They did just lose to the Giants. 2 of the 3 wins, though, for the Dolphins, 2 of their 3 wins came at home. This game at home, I think that's the critically important piece. The total, though, gone over in 4 of the last 5. For me, this is just a pick 'em, right? I didn't see it.
Well, they have it virtually. Miami's a 1-point favorite, which means on a neutral site they would probably have the Bengals as the favorite.
Right. Yeah.
And the Bengals haven't won a game on the road, like you've said. And they did win one game at home. They beat the Jets. The green slime came through for me. We had Cincinnati done. We were so happy about this. But Cincinnati, you know, is 8-3 against a number on the road in their last 11. In spite of their record, or despite their record.
How is that?
And 2-6, because the points are equalizers. You know, that happens. But the Bengals, again, have played to the under in 12-4-1 in their last 17 games. But the Bengals here, I think, more than being concerned about the Dolphins, which I think they probably will win this game. I think that Cincinnati goes in and takes care of it because everyone's yes, they do, because everyone's expecting them to be looking to tank so that they can get Joe Burrow or Chase Young. And that's a big enough decision for him. You know, you got Barrow, who's from Ohio, went to Ohio State, transferred to LSU, and became the most decisive Heisman Trophy winner we've seen in years. And Chase Young is more of a sure thing because dominant defensive players on a college level can take that game to the pro level much easier than the top quarterback on a college level takes that game into the pros. But I do think this Joe Burrow has a shot. And Cincinnati, I mean, Greg Guapo, what does he want here? You know, is he looking for Chase Young some defense, or is he going to take Burrow? Yeah. Regardless, I think the odds makers telling you that making this a pick'em at home for Miami gives the Bengals a fighting chance.
Well, you know, it's interesting we were talking about that, and you know, I think when it comes to the Bengals, expectation and reality have met. No one expects much of anything from them, and they deliver.
And you know what happens? They can win this game and then go on and lose the next week and still be assured the number 1 spot. So,
exactly.
You know, whether they're going to go defense or offense is their thoughts right now, and those are the 2 top players they're going to choose among.
Let's move along, shall we? Let's do the Cowboys of Dallas against those pesky Eagles of Philadelphia. The boys 7-7, 8-6 against the spread. Big win against the Raiders, though. That snapped a 3-game losing streak for them. They hope to clinch the NFC East with this one, and that was interesting. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Dak Prescott is a question mark because what they're saying is a hairline fracture in his finger, which I thought was really interesting. They're 3-4 straight up, 4-3 against the spread away, over from 5 of the last 7. And the Eagles, it's been a late season run for the Eagles with a couple of come from behind wins. That's got them still in contention for the division title, if you can believe that. Well, so 4-3 straight up, 2-5 against the spread. I know you want to talk. They've got under in 4 of the last 6. Dallas favorites, 2.5 points, 46 points. Tell me I'm wrong about the finger.
Well, I'm going to tell you that both of these clubs have been major disappointments this year.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
At 7-7, Dallas 8-6 against the number. Philadelphia 5-9 against the points, and they've been dreadful as well. But the thing you should have led about in this game is that Dallas is coming off being selected as Chip Chirimbes' NFC Game of the Year. And they go out and they pounded the Rams 44-21.
That's right, Chip. That was your game.
It was my Game of the Year. We got more big doings this weekend as well, so don't let it slip by you. But Dallas is 16-5 in the division. In spite of this poor record, they're 21-9 on grass. But like you said, so many of these trends conflict, and you can turn, you come up and make the other side look like a winner very easy. Dallas is 13-5 to the under in December, and that plays to what we were talking about. Better competition, better teams late in the season. You're not going to be fooling people with trick plays. I mean, it's very unusual that it happens.
And so how unfortunate is it that your quarterback's going to potentially be injured or be playing gimpy?
That's definitely a concern. And, Philadelphia is only 4-10. Their last 14 at home. They've lost the last 4 against the points when hosting Dallas. And yet Dallas comes in here 11-5 against the points on the road, 6-1 against Philly. And the 2.5-point favorite. And then again, it's a really tough call because both these teams are going to go into hibernation. We saw Dallas jump out and score a lot of points this week. I expect just the opposite this week. I expect this to be, like we were talking about Minnesota and Green Bay, a really conservative game. I expect this game to stay under the total.
Right. How about the Chiefs and the Bears? I mean, are either of these teams capable of playing conservative? That's what I want to know. It should be a great matchup. The Chiefs 4 wins in a row, including that big win over the Broncos. It's not just Mahomes, but also a stellar defense. I mean, they're doing it, right? I mean, getting it done. That's what's got them as 10-4, 6-1 away, 5-2 against the spread away. Under Chip in 4 of the last 5. And the Bears, their loss to Green Bay snapped that 3-game winning streak they were on. They've gone under in 6 of the last 8. But the Chiefs are road favorites here, 5.5 points, and a fairly low total, 44.
Well, as the Chiefs should be
Is it
road
44
favorites.
Or 44.5?
I have 44.5 right now, but it can fluctuate by game time. Who knows where it might be, But regardless, this Kansas City team has been a great moneymaker for their backers. On the road, of their last 30, they've covered 21 times. That's 70% ratio, 21-9. And on the road overall, 20-8. I mean, Kansas City on the road has been a moneymaker. They're 4-0 to under in their last 4 games. But look at Chicago at home, Nick. They're 7-1-1 in home against teams with winning records. And they're 19-9 overall against the points at home. 12-3 at home as a dog. These trends clash big time here. And there's really not too much we can do, other than the fact that we know that the Chiefs have played 4-0 to their last 4 games under, their last 4 games, and against Chicago Bears in the last 4 meetings, they've gone under.
But here's a question for you. What's the weather going to be like?
There's another thing which will probably play into the game and the style of the game, but I think if the weather is horrible, you'll see it reflected in the line by game time. So you're not always getting the bargain you think you are, because they know if somebody gets hurt, they're going to adjust the number. If there's going to be bad weather, foul weather, I mean, they would drop it continuously. But these 2 teams, believe it or not, when Chicago's just doesn't score many points. They have difficulty putting points on the board, and they're going to have to rely on defense to keep this close and keep Mahomes contained. And by the way, Mahomes has been injured. He's been hurt. He's been gimping. He's had a bad hand. And that Kansas City offense, like I said, they won 4 in a row, and they're playing really good football, but it isn't like what we saw last year. It's not that type of juggernaut where every time they get the ball, they're going to go down the field and score one way or another.
So, Chirimbes, I'm smelling under here.
I would say so. Yeah, I would take that.
Isn't that kind of priced in though at 44.5 points?
I think it's a high number, but you have to give Kansas City. Yeah, I do, because you have to, because Chicago's predicated on defense and they got Trubisky being quarterback.
No, I agree.
They're not going to score, but the Chiefs have that offense, that explosive offense, and that's going to be maybe that's the number here. What's going to be going on? This is a really tough call. It is a late game, and it's on Sunday night, and had another big winner Sunday night. 11-4 on the year. Don't miss our bailout winner, Nick. This game is sold individually. You can get it each and every week from Chip Chirimbes.
And Chip, 15% off if you want that game. All you have to do, use promo code BOWL. You get 15% off on the website. 15% off anything you want to buy at picksandparlays.net. From, I don't think we're selling mugs yet, but you can get expert picks, loads of them, 15% off. And we do have a bowl special right now.
The bowl package is great.
Which is great, right?
I've been written in the nation's media as a college bowl wizard, and the playoffs are the big games and the big money are on the line. It's my time to shine.
Yep.
It's the A-Play Mega Buck. I just gave a Game of the Year winner off of Auburn over Alabama, and then we just had Dallas.
You got that one.
We had that one. So we're on a roll here with these big games,
what, Chipper?
and they're all going to come fast and furious.
Let me put it this way. This is one of our most experienced cappers we have on the site. You would do yourself a real favor, especially with the bowl season coming up, to make Chip Chirimbes one of your cappers you pick. This is how it works. If you want Chip's picks, all of his picks for the bowl series, all you have to do is buy him $1.99 every bowl pick he makes. Right. But if you want to add in, say, Joe Duffy, you can do that. Rather than doubling that price, it becomes just $2.99. So $1.99 for one capper, $2.99 for two cappers. You get all of their picks for the bowl season. All right, we got to go. Chipper, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Nick.
Be right back. Welcome back, Picks and Parlays. I'm Nick Geber. We've had a lot of picks today. Oh, really, I've forgotten half of them already, which is good because I'm going to recap them for you so you don't forget them. All right, we had Craig Trapp on. We had Joe Duffy, the Duff Man. We had Chicken Dinner Chirimbes on. Great picks, everything from college basketball to we had the Idaho Potato Bowl to the NBA to the NFL, including Monday Night Football, the Sunday night game. We had everything for you today. So if you missed it, here goes. Let's start. Craig Trapp gave us college basketball. Maryland at Seton Hall, take Seton Hall +5. NC State at Auburn, take NC State +8. And the bowl game pick, this was the Frisco Bowl, Utah State, Kent State, take Kent State +6.5. Okay, then we had the Duff Man. His NBA picks, Jazz at Hawks, take the Hawks +6. Nets at the Spurs, take Nets +2.5. And Rockets at Clippers, take the Clippers +5. And we top it all off, we had Chicken Dinner Chirimbes with the NFL picks. Cowboys at Eagles, take under 46.5. Chiefs at Bears, take under 44.5. Packers at Vikings, take under 46.5. And, hey, wait a minute, I'm seeing a trend here. Bengals at Dolphins, take the under 44.5. So I tell you, Chirimbes is under everything. And that's good because you want to go with his picks. He certainly knows what he's talking about. All right, folks, that's just about going to wrap up the show. I'm with you each and every weekday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 on the left coast. That's when we're live on the radio, and we're live streaming throughout the day and night at picksandparlays.net. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. All you have to do is search for us, and if you're interested in participating, #Parlay Radio. We'd love to hear from you. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Loads more free picks, lots more fun. Till tomorrow, bet smart, and always bet, win, repeat.